Imagine waking up one day, your heart heavy with the weight of a relationship that you know is harming you. You see the signs, the manipulation, the lies, the constant emotional ups and downs. You've seen it all, yet you're still here. Why? Why do you stay in a relationship that causes you so much pain? You tell yourself that things could change, that if you just give it more time, if you love them enough, things will get better. But deep down, you know this isn't true. You know that leaving physically isn't enough. Even when you walk away, something keeps you tethered, holding you to the chaos. Here's the truth. The problem isn't just the other person. It's the psychological bond created by this toxic relationship. This bond runs deeper than actions or words. It's a web of emotions, attachment patterns, and unspoken promises that have been woven into the fabric of your life. It's what makes you crave the very chaos that hurts you, because it feels familiar. This emotional bond doesn't dissolve simply because you step away. Breaking free isn't just about leaving, it's about breaking the psychological attachment that keeps you hooked. It's the battle for your mind, your heart, and your sense of self. Until you recognize and sever this bond, you'll find yourself circling back into the trap again and again. And that's the real challenge, the hardest part of healing. Imagine that the way you love, the way you connect, was shaped long before this relationship ever began. Attachment theory tells us that our earliest experiences with caregivers create a blueprint for how we experience love throughout our lives. When you were young, if love was steady, reliable, and unconditional, you learned to trust and form healthy, stable relationships. But when love was inconsistent, when affection was met with pain or manipulation, you internalized something different. This is the foundation for toxic love, where affection is unpredictable, sometimes cold, sometimes warm, but always tied to uncertainty. In these relationships, love isn't what you expected it to be. Instead of warmth, comfort, and support, you receive something fragmented. You crave the love, but it's tangled with pain, uncertainty, and manipulation. Healthy love builds trust, calm, and reassurance. Toxic love, however, is a dangerous cycle of highs and lows, and it confuses the very meaning of love itself. And therein lies the danger of emotional attachment. The brain doesn't differentiate between love and pain when it comes to attachment. It simply learns that love feels like emotional chaos. The brain becomes hooked on the roller coaster, mistaking the unpredictable affection for something real, something worth chasing. You crave the very chaos that hurts you because it feels familiar. It feels like home. But here's the truth. The problem isn't with the other person. The problem is what this relationship represents. The unresolved wounds from your past, the unconscious need for validation and fear of rejection that this toxic person triggers. They awaken the deepest, most vulnerable parts of you. And you find yourself caught in the trap not because of them, but because of the emotional needs you've been carrying with you, silently waiting to be filled. This is the trap. The attachment to what the relationship stirs inside of you, not the person themselves. There's a suffocating weight to the idea of leaving. It doesn't come from a place of love, but from a deep, gnawing fear of loss. You don't fear being without them because you can't survive. You fear leaving because the story feels unfinished. The chapters of this relationship are still open, and something inside of you desperately wants to close the book. You're attached not to the person, but to the idea that you can fix this, that you can make it work. This attachment isn't driven by genuine love. It's fueled by the need to prove something to yourself, to prove that you can overcome the chaos and make it into something stable, something real. But what happens when all that effort goes unnoticed, when the cycles repeat and nothing changes? You become more entwined, more tangled in the illusion that you just haven't tried hard enough yet. You stay, believing that this time things will be different, that this time they'll change. This is the illusion of change, the belief that waiting longer or trying harder will somehow make things better. It's the false hope that love will conquer all or that time will heal the relationship. But time doesn't heal toxicity. Time only solidifies it. You convince yourself that they'll change if you stay longer, if you're just patient enough, if you give them one more chance. But true change only happens when the other person recognizes their own flaws, when they admit their mistakes and actively seek to heal. But here's the painful reality. Waiting isn't the solution. Change is only possible when both people are willing to grow, and until that happens, the cycle will keep spinning, trapping you in the same place. The hardest part is acknowledging that the only thing holding you in this cycle is the hope for a change that may never come. Imagine a relationship where the affection comes in fits and starts. Warmth one moment, coldness the next. You catch a glimpse of kindness, a moment of tenderness, and for a fleeting second you think, maybe this is it? Maybe this time it will last. This is the mechanism of intermittent reinforcement, and it's precisely what keeps you hooked. Intermittent reinforcement works like an invisible string that tugs at your emotions. It's the same psychological principle that addicts experience. Just like a gambler keeps playing with the hope of winning big, you stay in the relationship, fueled by the occasional rewards, those brief, shining moments of affection, kindness, or attention. You tell yourself that the pain is worth it because you believe the next moment will be different, that this time you'll get the love you deserve. And yet the cycle repeats. Hope, then disappointment, then hope again. This cycle creates an obsessive pull, one that convinces you that the relationship could work, that if you just wait long enough, if you hold on through the pain, the love will be constant. It's a mirage in a desert, brief moments of affection that lead you to believe in a future that's never truly there. These random rewards trick your brain into thinking that this time you found something real, that this time things will be different. And every time you're pulled back in, the bond tightens and the cycle becomes harder to escape. As this pattern continues, something else happens. Your standards begin to lower. You've been conditioned to accept less, to find contentment in crumbs of affection. Where once you would have demanded consistency and respect, you now find yourself grateful for whatever small gesture of love you can get. You start to tolerate behavior that you would have never accepted before. Lies, neglect, manipulation, because you're convinced that this is the best you can get. This is the power of the cycle. It reinforces the unhealthy bond, convincing you that this is as good as it gets. And in doing so, it traps you deeper, convincing you to accept less and less until the very idea of real love feels like an impossible dream. Imagine questioning your own reality, wondering if the world around you is truly as it seems, or if you're simply losing your grip on sanity. This is the effect of gaslighting, a form of emotional manipulation designed to distort your perception of reality. The toxic partner twists the truth so subtly, so persistently, that you begin to doubt your own feelings, memories, and even your own sanity. You find yourself wondering, am I imagining things? Or did I overreact? Common phrases you might hear in this twisted game are deceptively simple, yet profoundly damaging. You're imagining things, you're exaggerating, or it's not that big of a deal. These words are not just meant to diminish your feelings, they're designed to undermine your reality. Over time, you start to believe that maybe you're the one who's wrong, that perhaps you are being too sensitive, too dramatic. You stop trusting your own perceptions because they've been called into question so many times. And in that self-doubt, the toxic person gains more power. What's even more dangerous is how gaslighting prevents you from recognizing the abuse. The very act of questioning your own thoughts creates a fog of confusion, making it nearly impossible to see the manipulation for what it truly is. This fog makes it harder to escape the relationship, because you're no longer sure whether you're being hurt or if you're simply overreacting. It keeps you locked in, unsure of where the truth begins and where the manipulation ends. But gaslighting isn't the only tool in the manipulator's arsenal. Another destructive tactic is projection, a method where the toxic partner transfers their own flaws onto you. Instead of taking responsibility for their actions, they blame you for their mistakes, their shortcomings, their misdeeds. They might accuse you of being unfaithful, of being dishonest, or of misunderstanding their intentions. These accusations are not just false. They're designed to confuse you, to make you doubt your own innocence, and to accept blame for things that are not yours to own. Projection creates a vicious cycle of self-blame. It manipulates your emotions by making you feel guilty for something you didn't do, leaving you trapped in a constant state of self-doubt. And all the while, the manipulator remains free of accountability, shifting the blame onto you and keeping the power firmly in their hands. You've felt it, the deep, gnawing fear that creeps in when the thought of being alone becomes overwhelming. This fear isn't just about missing someone, it's about a societal pressure that distorts your very sense of self-worth. Loneliness has been painted as something to avoid at all costs. In a world that constantly glorifies the idea of romantic relationships as the ultimate form of fulfillment, being single can feel like a failure. Society devalues independence, pushing the narrative that you are incomplete without a partner. From movies to social media, the message is clear. Love equals happiness. Single means lonely, incomplete, and less than. So, the idea of being alone becomes irrationally dangerous. You fear that if you leave, you'll be left in solitude, forgotten, and abandoned by the world. This fear, however, is rooted not in reality, but in cultural conditioning. You have been told that love is the key to happiness, and without it, you'll be lost. You've been taught that solitude is painful, and that no matter how toxic the relationship, it's better than the emptiness of being single. The fear of loneliness then becomes a prison, locking you into a relationship that isn't serving you, because leaving it feels worse than the pain of staying. You begin to tell yourself, "At least I'm not alone. At least I have someone." But in truth, this illusion of love is not love at all. It's a coping mechanism, a way to avoid facing the deeper underlying truth that you are worthy of peace, happiness, and stability on your own. You convince yourself that change is possible, that if you just try harder, if you give a little more, the relationship will improve. You tell yourself that with patience, everything will fall into place. But that's the illusion of change. It's the fantasy that your effort, your love, or your patience will fix what's broken in them. But real change isn't born from your sacrifices or from waiting for them to transform. True change happens only when the toxic person acknowledges their flaws, takes responsibility, and actively works on themselves. You can't love someone enough to make them change, no matter how deeply you care. You can't wait for something that may never come. The hardest truth is that the change you hope for will never happen unless they are willing to change on their own. And that, my friend, is where the illusion falls apart. The first step toward healing is to cut all contact. No texts, no calls, no "let's be friends" scenarios. You may feel a deep resistance at first, but this is crucial. When you're in a toxic relationship, your emotions have been trained, conditioned, and manipulated to react to the presence of the toxic person. Every text, every call, every interaction pulls you back into the cycle, making it impossible to break free. total separation is the only way to break the emotional conditioning. Without it, you'll keep circling back, each time reinforcing the unhealthy bond. The idea of no contact can feel terrifying, like you're walking into the unknown. But understand this: the silence you create isn't just a boundary, it's freedom. It's your first act of reclaiming your life. It's the space needed to clear your mind, reset your emotions, and heal. However, this initial break is not without its pain. Withdrawal will set in, and it will feel like you're experiencing the symptoms of addiction. Your mind will rebel. It will replay the good moments, the fleeting times when affection was genuine, convincing you that you can go back, that maybe it wasn't so bad. But here's the truth. Your brain is tricking you. It focuses on those highs, forgetting the lows and the emotional harm caused. It's the same pattern as any addiction. Your brain craves the dopamine rush of affection, even if it comes with a heavy price. This is where coping strategies become vital. Start journaling. Write down the reasons you left, the pain you endured, and the lessons you've learned. Surround yourself with supportive people who remind you of your worth and help you stay grounded. Build new routines that reinforce your emotional stability, things that nourish your soul and restore your sense of self. Remember, the withdrawal is painful, but it's temporary. With each day, the fog will lift and clarity will return. You will heal, but only by walking away and committing to no contact. Now that you've stepped away from the chaos, you're standing at a crossroads. Take a deep breath and ask yourself, who was I before this relationship? Who were you when you weren't defined by the emotional turmoil, the manipulation, and the confusion of constantly trying to make someone else's reality fit yours? Before you ever gave pieces of yourself away, who were you at your core? This is the journey of rediscovery. The person you were before the relationship is still there, buried beneath layers of emotional residue. It's time to peel back those layers and reconnect with your true self. Start by focusing on your autonomy, your ability to make decisions based on your own needs, not someone else's demands or expectations. Reclaim your self-worth and remember that you are worthy of peace, respect, and love, simply because you exist, not because someone else says you are. In this process, give yourself permission to explore who you are outside of the toxic relationship. Take the time to rediscover your passions, your interests, the things that once made you feel alive. Whether it's picking up an old hobby, starting a new project, or even setting personal goals for growth, these activities will help you reconnect with the parts of yourself that were lost along the way. It's about emotional healing, allowing yourself to grow and evolve in ways that nourish your spirit and remind you of your strength. And let's talk about self-love. True healing begins when you start to love yourself unconditionally. You don't need a relationship to be whole. Society often tells you that a romantic relationship defines your worth, but this is a myth. You are not incomplete without someone else. Learning to love yourself deeply, fully, and without apology is the key to reclaiming your peace. Once you embrace the power of self-love, you won't settle for anything less than what you deserve. And when you love yourself, you'll find that true happiness doesn't depend on anyone else. It starts and ends with you. Choose yourself. The toxic relationship may have claimed your time, your energy, and parts of your soul, but now it's time to take back what's yours. You are worthy of better. You deserve peace. You deserve respect. You deserve love that is consistent, kind, and free from manipulation. You are not defined by your past, nor by the person who has kept you trapped in this cycle. Yes, the road ahead will be difficult. Leaving isn't easy. There will be moments when you doubt yourself, when the pull to return feels unbearable. But I promise you this, staying in that toxic relationship will only prolong the pain, robbing you of the chance to truly heal. Choosing yourself isn't just about walking away, it's about reclaiming your life, your joy, and your freedom. And although it's hard, it is the only way to regain control over your future and to step into the version of yourself that has been waiting for you all along. You'll hear the voice of doubt echoing in your mind. What if I'm making a mistake? What if things will get better if I just wait? This voice, though loud, is not your own. It's the residue of manipulation, the echo of someone else's influence trying to keep you stuck. But listen closely. That doubt is a lie. It's a product of the manipulation you've endured, designed to make you second-guess your strength and your worth. The fog of confusion will eventually lift. When it does, you'll see clearly. Leaving was the right choice. The relief, the peace, and the strength that will flood in as you step away from the chaos will reaffirm that you've made the right decision. Choosing yourself isn't selfish. It's an act of profound self-respect. And it's the first step toward the life you've always deserved. Now is the time to take the first step toward your freedom. It's time to break free from the cycle of manipulation, confusion, and pain. You don't have to wait for the perfect moment to begin healing. Start today. The journey ahead may be challenging, but with each step forward, you will reclaim more of who you truly are. Healing begins when you decide to focus on yourself, on your own growth, your own peace, and your own emotional health. And that decision? It's yours to make. You have the power to start anew. Choose healing. Choose freedom. Choose yourself. I encourage you to share your own experiences in the comments. What part of this video resonated most with you? Are you in the process of breaking free, or are you struggling to take the first step? Sharing your story can help you feel less alone and inspire others who are walking this path too. We are all in this together, and your voice matters. If you're ready to keep going, stay tuned for the next video. We'll dive deeper into the tools and strategies you need to continue your healing journey. From rebuilding trust in yourself to strengthening emotional resilience, we'll explore more ways to empower you and help you move forward with strength and confidence. And if you found this video helpful, like, share, and subscribe to the channel for more empowering content on emotional health and breaking free from toxic patterns. Remember, you are worthy of a life filled with peace, respect, and love. The path forward starts now, and I'll be here, guiding you every step of the way.